Okay, so how would I differentiate between what is irreconcilably ambiguous and what is not? Okay, I think one way to come at this is to suggest that the ambiguities are at different levels in different ways. And it's certainly not that everything's all ambiguous, and that's the point. Again, I don't know where people get that. The point is more that in our very being, there are deep, deep ambiguities, like where the cosmos came from, where all this stuff is, how it originated, just sort of blanket ones at that level. Related to that are ambiguities about the necessary and sufficient conditions for what we take to be the consciousness that we today, here, now are experiencing when we try to talk about consciousness with one another. I am somewhat convinced that the consciousness, in actual fact, that I am experiencing emerged from a physical environment that is part of the larger world. It's not that I'm simply like something the sun is doing, or I'm inseparable from the oxygen that I breathe, but I think that we, in the way that we think about ourselves, we have a tendency to overestimate our individual bodily separation, and by way of reliance on the visual field, on vision itself, we overestimate in an authoritative way how we're separate from the world. We're one thing and the world is something else. And that's really not true. There's intermingling that's happening on at the molecular level. There's all of the atmosphere that you're continuously taking in and breathing and exchanging. There are chemical interactions that are going on at various levels. If you go watch some TED videos, I mean, so much of your body is made up of bacteria that is it you, is it not you? Well, you wouldn't be possible without it. It's very interesting, the interdependencies of part and whole. See, part and whole are one of the main ambiguities that I've tried to address in so many of my videos, that we take ourselves to be a self-sufficing individual whole that's just given, but it's ambiguous. It's ambiguous not only of how my body relates to the larger world in terms of respiration and metabolism and sexual capacities with others, and the way that I'm actually the product of other people interacting. I mean, the lines of what it means to be a person and that we take ourselves to be, we gloss over all of these rich ways that our body is actually intertwined with something that we often call the world, that's somehow other. And then even when I deal with myself, see, I start to talk about, I can be in a relationship to my own body. I can be like, I can try to calm myself down by breathing in a certain way, or I can relate to myself. Well, before I was saying I am my body, now there's this me who's relating to this body. There's kind of an ambiguity there about what we mean by the word I. It seems somewhat ineradicable. That is, sometimes we mean consciousness, sometimes we mean body, sometimes we mean social self, sometimes we mean role, and you could try to delimit it and say, here's what I mean by it, but then in everyday conversation, when it picks up again, we suddenly slip back into meaning some of those other ones. I think there are lines, again, of part and whole that are very slippery. So it's not only my body and how my body relates to the world, but how my self-conscious, linguistic, self-aware self relates to that body seems to be somewhat ambiguous. At least when I say ambiguous, it's not simply a given thing that's just clear like a cup is clear to us. Many of the realities that we deal with, and particularly selves and communities, questions like duties, obligations, responsibilities, owning or not owning, various kinds of relationships. See, now, if I move toward the ambiguities, which seem somewhat ineradicable with myself and other, it seems odd that others directly see my own face in a way that I do not. Now, I can see my face in a mediated way through a mirror, or here watching my face as I'm shooting a video, but it's not directly my face in the same way that another does. Like if I'm standing next to you in a mirror, I can look at your reflection in a mirror, and then I can look at you, and I can see the comparison between your reflection and you. But when I look at my own reflection, I see my reflection, but I can't compare it to my own face. Um, there is something about, for Sartre, right, it's that others have a part of you and that flees from you. And that is you, even though it flees from you. It's an odd ambiguity of the way that we're in relations to others. I think we like to think that we're separate from others. We have these island, the imaginary person who either lives off on an island alone or does all this sort of stuff. Even there, they're breathing air, they're needing atmosphere, they're needing food to metabolize. They have all kinds of organs that are being regulated and taken care of by bacteria that we say aren't us, and yet again we rely upon them. There's all kinds of things living on your hair follicle, right? It's not that you're just worm food when you're dead. It's that you're a hotel all the way along. We seem not to realize that. It's not that you're a thing and the world is a thing. It's that there is one grand event, and it's living, and you are a place and moment of it living, and there are things living in and on and through you. See, these are the kinds of ambiguities I'm trying to talk about. The way we understand ourselves. I think too many people understand like rocks and tables and glasses and things like this, and then they think people are just like that. I don't think that we are. I think that, and it's more than just being complicated machines, that it has to do with historicity. It has to do with certain relations to others. I think our relations to others are more mysterious and rich than we sometimes think. This is if people were following the reading group. So it's relations to self and others. To what extent do I have obligations to others? Do I have obligations to save everyone, to worry only about myself? I mean, what if I can only save one person, and then if my saving one person means that there's another person who I can't save, and I have to decide which one to save? Now, where will come the moral criteria? Someone's going to offer something, but my guess is it's going to remain ambiguous. My question would be, what is it that people want when they want an objective morality? What do they think that it will achieve in having it? Do they think that once they've achieved an objective morality, everyone will follow it? Well, do they want to be the person who invented it? I mean, what exactly is it that... I mean, I'm not suggesting that... that people should be lawless or careless or be bringing unnecessary suffering. I'm trying to, advocate love and charity and goodwill and peace and... I guess beauty and harmony and resonance. Okay, I want to say really quick, I'm running out of time here. I want to say some things. So what is not? Yeah, the what is not, it's all going to depend on the particular case. Now, I was trying to get at these ontological levels. On the particular case, what's ambiguous, what's not ambiguous, it's really going to depend. Let's hear the case. I think the fact that there are lawyers, and sometimes, like in a big Supreme case, they'll have 5 different judges, and then they can disagree. How is that possible? I mean, if there is just this objective thing, this objective morality there, or there's no ambiguity, why do we have different lawyers? I mean, it seems like the whole law system is kind of set up because there can be contesting accounts of what happened. Right? Sometimes things happen and we don't have sufficient evidence other than 2 different people's stories. Okay, this question of what makes an authoritative disambiguation, this is going to be the last one I'm going to address. I already addressed slavery, and I tried to address it in the fact that we're places and moments of the cosmos. We're not things that own or could be owned. If we try to say that, we're covering over a great ambiguity. That would be the point. The issue here on authoritative disambiguation is hear it in my voice. I watch it in your posture. I watch it in mine. People, it's the tone, it's the posture, it's the sound of voice. When people talk about the sound of voice or the impassioned pleas that people make, that's one level of the embodied authoritative disambiguation. But I think the way that authoritative disambiguation gets sanctioned in society is through laws, it's through state apparatus, the imposition of actual force through military and police. I mean, there are ways that we enforce private property, as an example. Okay, thanks.